Jubilee.
Iko sawa.
Jubilee. Azimio. Hey. Hayawi. Walisema haitawezekana, lakini wana Jubilee na wana Azimio wakawajibu ya kwamba ina na ita simefanyika. Sasa Jubilee imefanya, wajafanya? Azimio imefurahi, itafurahi. Sisi tumekuja hapa kama wanaazimio kuunga mkono ndugu wetu hapa wa Jubilee. Nataka kutoa shukrani sana kwa ndugu yangu Uhuru Kenyatta kwa kusimama imara na kuhepa vitisho vyote na kusema ya kwamba Jubilee itafanya mkutano siku ya leo. Sasa mimi nimesimama hapa kama mwanaazimio. Nataka kuongea sasa kwa niaba ya Azimio yote. Kuna maneno ambayo mimi nataka kuongea na wale wengine huko. Nitaongea kwanza kwa Kimombo ili wasikie vizuri, baadaye nitafanya Kiswahili kidogo. On behalf of Azimio, I am honored to join you at this special National Delegates Convention of Jubilee Party, which also serves to kick off the rejuvenation of all Azimio parties. As a coalition, we recognize that we are only as strong as our constituent parties. A strong Jubilee is therefore a strong Azimio. Two, let me take this early opportunity to thank members of Jubilee Party for the passion with which they embraced my campaign and the votes they cast for me as presidential candidate in the face of monumental fraud and lies. I don't take it for granted that millions of voters woke up at dawn in Mount Kenya and other parts of the country, lined up for hours and trusted me with their future by voting for me. I urge you not to give up on that dream of a regime governed by empathy for citizens, honesty and accountability, as opposed to the lies Kenya Kwanza sold and continued to sell. The Jubilee Party carries a special significance to us in Azimio precisely because of attacks it has endured and efforts of the state to kill or co-opt it forcibly into Kenya Kwanza. Should Jubilee be subdued, multi-party democracy will be under serious threat in our country. Accountability will be severely compromised. Uncouth manners and barbaric politics will be cemented in huge sections of our land where leaders with such credentials want to hold sway. The end game is for Kenya Kwanza in its scheme against Jubilee is to give itself a supermajority in parliament that will enable it to amend the constitution towards its desired goals, including possible removal of presidential term limits. In this, the regime is working on a well-trodden path. Kenya Kwanza is working on an arrangement similar to that of 1964 that saw Kadu walk across the aisle and join KANU without its members of parliament having to seek fresh mandates. Kenya Kwanza wants to ensure Jubilee as a party does not continue to exist on this side of the aisle. They want Jubilee dead in the same way KADU did, after which Kenya Kwanza will try to enact the train of events that saw Kenya become a de facto one-party state from 1969 before being made a de jure one-party state one afternoon in 1982. Kenyans need to appreciate that the desire to kill alternative forms of political organization is the initial step on the path to a full-blown dictatorship. Next will be a freeze in the people's participation and representation in political affairs of the nation. Next, the rate of participation in critical national activities like voting will diminish. By 1983, as we entered the peak of years of a single-party dictatorship in Kenya, voter turnout stood at a mere 30%. It is therefore upon us, the parties and those who have this hindsight of history, to ensure that what happened once does not happen twice. While those in government may think they will be insulated should the regime succeed in destroying multi-party systems, history tells us that as soon as the regime in power succeeds in killing opposition, it will turn inwards and kill debate and dissent within its own ranks. The governing party will become a tool of the office of the president to manage opposition from within and without. When that happens, only one voice will matter, that of the president. Even those politicians who now think they wield power in the government party will not know where they lost the plot. The people trying to kill or take over Jubilee and hand it over to Kenya Kwanza may not be fully aware of the complex schemes being plotted by their sponsors. They are mere pawns in a game that will eventually consume them. Kenyans will recall that one afternoon in 1982, a few excited members of parliament set and approved the making of Kenya a one-party state. Those excited men and women who voted aye that afternoon in 1982 thought they were punishing other people. A number of them became the very first victims of the snares they thought they were laying for others. Which is why Jubilee's war toward of Kenya Kwanza must be the war of every Kenyan who treasure freedom, the rule of law, and respect for human rights, including the right to associate and to hold and express views freely. I must commend Jubilee Party for remaining strong, focused in the face of sustained state-sponsored onslaught. I am happy that the party recognizes its responsibility to Kenyans to defend and sustain our hard-won multi-party system. More importantly, I commend the Jubilee Party for continuing to fight for lowering of cost of living, electoral justice, inclusivity in appointment in public office, and abolition of excessive taxation of Kenyans. I want to assure you that we will fight this battle together and we will win it together. Failure is not an option. Failure is not an option. As we push for respect for political parties, I want to make a heartfelt call on our country to respect leaders who have served our nation and handed over the baton to others. In the recent months, you have seen very uncouth, very primitive, and unwarranted attacks on the person and property of His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta and his family, including the founding president, Mr. Jomo Kenyatta. Shame on them. Nothing could be more uncouth than what we have witnessed in this regard, especially when it comes from men and women who call themselves leaders, who expect to be respected once they retire, unless they plan to die in office. I must commend my brother and our fourth president, Uhuru Kenyatta, for the dignity and decorum with which he has borne the insults and abuses for the sake of the stability of the nation, the peaceful coexistence of Kenyans, and the dignity of Kenya's presidency. I personally thank Uhuru for choosing to fly high when they have hit an extreme low. I call for respect of retired leaders, not because Uhuru is with us in Azimio. I say it because it is what I believe in. It is what civilized people should do and believe. It is what happens in civilized nations. Kenyans will recall that when NAC took power in 2002 and excited cabinet ministers bayed for the blood of the then retired President Daniel Arap Moi, I said no. I said no to the intended frustration of a man who had held various leadership positions right from before independence, ending up as our president for 24 years. As I said when we launched Azimio in Nakuru on 16th of August 2021, you must cleanse this land of the spirit of anger and bitterness, revenge and entitlement that the presidency continues to ooze. You must also build electoral systems that are resilient, transparent, accountable, and respect the wishes of the voters as expressed at the ballot. You believe that when leaders and governments lack popular support, as is presently the case, accountability, empathy, democracy, and good governance cannot be expected, and the nation cannot move forward.